G'day everyone. Okay, just going to give you a quick update on the boat. Okay, we've got these patches in. I showed on the last video that I wasn't happy with just trying to fill those splits in these bottom planks. So just, too much, too bad. So I've put some patches in. And as I explained on the previous one, I made a mistake in cutting the area out before I actually measured the length of the timber that I had going in there, and I was 2 inches short. I'll show you on the other side in a minute, but the patches have gone in quite neatly. Well, these are all 45-degree cuts and joins in here. The sides come up fairly well. There's more epoxy over that because I filled a hole. What I had to do here, because there was nothing to screw the plank into, like these screws here have gone into the ribs and I've pulled the join together tightly, but this one was sticking up. It wasn't meeting the other timber very well. So I put another piece, a block of timber underneath it and a screw in from the top, and of course removed that block and the screw now. And so that's what the epoxy's for, and just put something back in the hole to fill the hole. The markings you can see on here, so I didn't want to be putting the screws into the old holes because they're not going to hold very well. So I've marked the old screws were in between each of these, so I've marked in between each of the original screw holes so that I'm screwing into new timber each time. That's why I've marked it that way. When you get up here, you see I've put a little bit of epoxy mixed with sawdust. There's a couple of reasons for that. There was still a couple of splits, like they're only small splits, but the main issue here is that this timber, I probably really should have gone and got another piece of this Huon and extended it up to here, but the issue you get here is that this original plank has a bow in it, so it's not, like, it's about 2 mil lower than what the patch is, and even though it's still met up to it and it's joined properly, but I've just, as I said, I've filled that in a little bit with epoxy and mixed with sawdust, just to build it up a little bit, because I'll have to go over that again with some regular putty, but the regular putty has to have something to stick to, so wherever you're going to use a regular putty, you need to epoxy it first so it's got something to bond to, because the regular putty won't stick to timber, well, not for very long anyway. Also going along, filled these, these are all filled with epoxy mixed with sawdust, so they'll get sanded off, and again there'll be another swipe of regular putty just to finish it off. I was going to put these original pieces back on. This one was loose, I took it off, and then ended up taking the other one off as well because I realised that they were two different lengths. The one on this side was like close to a foot shorter than the one on the other side, and a bit worn down, busted up anyway, so I've planed up another piece of timber and made 2 new ones, and all screwed in and glued. So I glued both sides of these and then screwed them down. Like, they won't come off ever. That's permanent. You couldn't get them off if you wanted to, or not, without breaking big holes in the planks, because if you were to take that off, it would pull the timber out from underneath it as well. In doing so, you wouldn't break the epoxy joint. You can come around this side. This is that area I was talking about where I was actually short, and the patch was short. Then I've got another piece of the original, the piece I cut out I used to patch that to add to another patch, and again it's all 45 joins. It's sort of screwed into the ribs. It's screwed into the keel. Yeah, screwed into the ribs here. It's all solid, isn't it? No issue with it. But I've got that same problem again where there's a bow in the timber, and so yeah, I'm having to fill it up. It doesn't do to be sanding down this timber, making that timber thin so that it meets up with that, and it's going to be the same issue on the inside. I'll probably take a little bit off that because that'll be a rise on the inside. I'll take a little bit off it, but basically I'll be building it up with putty. So it's better to build the surface up so that it looks nice than to make the timber thin and create a weakness. Again, we had big splits along here that I filled in with the epoxy putty and the sawdust. And done a little bit of clean up down here. On this too, where I joined it, because it was pretty rough and a bit sort of rotted and worn. This piece wasn't good enough to join a new piece on, so I've cut it back about 10 mil or so, just so I've got a nice clean piece of timber to butt this up to, and it's all, as I said, it's all glued again and whatever. I'm gonna have to build up a little bit. It's a bit low here, doesn't meet the other part. The other keel timber is higher on this corner, so I'll be building that up flat. I've still got to dig out silicon along here. There'll be more epoxy putty going into there, and same in here. This is another split. I'll actually open that up a little bit just with a Stanley knife, make a little bit of a V, so I've got something to press the epoxy into. Same in here. Won't be using epoxy putty here. Like, these don't go right through. They're just sort of open. They're overlapped. There's no real strength issue in here. It's just needs to be filled just so it looks tidy. But yeah. But once again, you can't just put regular putty in there. It won't stick. So it's all got to be cleaned out, and then I've got to brush epoxy into it before I can put regular putty down on here. We've got another issue too in some of these boards. There's a bit of a gap between the boards. Not a big gap, but enough to leak water. So, and I don't have enough epoxy to completely fill all them, and of course they're not ready for it yet. They've got to get in there, clean paint out, clean out silicon, old putty, etc., get all that clean. But yeah, right up to the water line. So at least down to this plank. So that'll be 4 joins on either side. I'm going to have to run full length after I've cleaned it up, just with the epoxy resin, just so that any filler that I put in here has something to bond to. And I'd like to think we're getting near the completion of it, but there's still a lot of work to be done. As I said, I haven't even got to the inside. All of these joins, all these cracks are going to have to be filled as well on the inside, sanded, cleaned up. Still a fair bit to go. Still got a couple of splits here that I've got to attend to. Same along here, like this gap here has to be filled in. It's close up here, it's close at the back, but there's a gap here. It's 8 mil gap. Same on the other side. And so once again, I've already cleaned most of it out. It's fairly clean already. I cleaned it out when I did the keel timber, but I'm going to have to paint epoxy in them. And over all of these, where all the screw holes, they're all got to be filled. They say, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera. See, this is regular putty, and it's stuck to the rivet, but it hasn't bonded the timber. See, it's separating from the timber. So once again, yeah, I'm going to have to go and epoxy every one of these before I fill it, just to ensure that it's actually the putty's actually going to stick to the timber. Yeah, we're going along. We filled this. This was last night's one. This is with the leftover resin from that last patch. But yeah, that's all. Yeah, wedge tied in there. It was epoxy painted first, given time to soak in, and then yeah, the epoxy with the sawdust. This is sawdust here. That's just off the floor. You know, I mean, there's a bit of dirt in it, but not going to make any difference whatsoever at all. You know? Yeah, it'll all soak up. It's just a filler for the epoxy, just to make it thick, so it doesn't just run through. And yeah, that was initially put it through the sieve, and then I ran it through this bit of fly screen, and yeah, so I've come up with a reasonably fine sawdust that I can use. But yeah, so I filled all of these in. I left that chunk of original putty in there. See, that's solid now. It's glued in with the epoxy. That's fine. And you know, this bow has to be strong. You know, this takes impact on things. So yeah, once again, you can't. It's not a good idea just to put a regular putty in there. That's got to be mega strong. You know, so that's why. Yeah, I've completely filled all that with the sawdust epoxy formula. So. And again, down here, this is the things you find, you know, like there was a bit of a crack in here when I started digging at it, trying to clean it up. You know, like somebody put silicone in it, and there's a bit of original putty, but I found there was a big area of rot in here. Didn't go very far, like it was probably an inch at the most, not 3/4 of an inch deep and about 1/2 inch wide. But there was a section of rot there, so I've had to dig all of that rot out. Yeah, right back to, so it's all solid timber, and then I've filled that again. So yeah, pretty much got the bow. Yeah, and yeah, as I said, I finished all these off with a regular putty now. So that's basically where we're up to. I've got to go and get some I'm just going to use some regular car putty. But I've got a bit of a dilemma in that, like, I bought some builder's bog, but not realising just how much I'm going to need. Yeah, I've used a little bit of this already, but it's not going to be even close to enough. So I've sort of wasted my money buying that, really, because like that's about $30. And if I shop around, I can probably get a 5 litre tin for $60, $70. And yeah, that will be more than enough. That I'd probably, at most, I might use 1/3 of that tin, probably not even that, 1/4 of it on the boat, and yeah, what's left over, we use for cars and other things. So it's a bit of a dilemma, because I can't go charging the owner of the boat $60, $70 for putty when I'm only going to use 1/4 of it and the rest of it up to myself. But yeah, having to outlay for the big tin, which I can't really afford right now, and I don't really need it right now. I'll be needing it in the future, but I don't really need it right now. But I'm just going to have to do it, because it's just not feasible to buy small amounts. You end up spending more money on small amounts than you because they just don't go very far. So that's where I'm up to at the moment, and yeah, I was hoping to actually have the underside finished by now, the whole outside of the boat, and have any paint, but yeah, I've just sort of realised, as I said, how much putty I'm actually going to need and that I don't have enough. So that's going to have to wait till payday now till I can buy something. Yeah, I was hoping to have this already painted by then, but yeah. But as I said, we are getting there. The boat's, yeah, solid now. Yeah, quite, I don't know, what's the word? Happy with where it's at, and confident, that it's not going to have any issues down the track with any of what I've done. And you would hope too that, see, a lot of these splits is from the boat drying out a lot. But you would hope that by this stage it's dried out as much as it's ever going to dry out. And it's, not going to split any further. That this is the whole extent of it contracting and splitting, and that, yeah, it's not going to contract any further. So, all right, yeah, repeating myself a little bit here. But, yeah, you can actually see, I just noticed that. You look at the difference between here and here. Well, that's sort of raised a bit, actually, because it's sort of popped up, but you can see just how much lower, how dipped that bit is. It's got to be 2-3 mil lower there in this section. So yeah, that's 2-3 mil of putty I've got to put over that to make it look decent. And yeah, actually it'll probably, the putty will have to come up here a bit more, so yeah, put more epoxy down first so we don't get any separation in the putty. Alright, well that's where we're up to, and thanks for watching. Bye.